Hi there, Cari. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for joining today. Um,
Thank you.
you and I met, well, I don't know, a couple months ago, I guess, not too long ago,
Would
at
have
a
been like
protest,
sometime in April or May. Yes.
maybe a little bit longer than that. And it was at a
Yeah.
protest, a place that you really have never frequented in your life.
Never.
It's funny because Cari and I have had these talks. She's a concerned mom. And when we met, you had been just recently started to come out and express your displeasure with, I guess, the state of emergency, the fact that our freedoms have been withheld. Tell me more. What got you out there?
Well, actually, I didn't know that we were in the state of emergency until I started learning more from you. So
Oh, really? Okay, that's cool.
my concern started back in, well, I mean, it was kind of a thing that you were watching from the US standpoint, from January is when things really started going kind of crazy. And then when the whole school shutdown happened in March, it actually started in Alberta first, and I have family there. So when I
Okay.
heard the school was shutting down, I thought, well, this is kind of weird. I bet you it's coming here next. And yeah, then they shut us down, and I thought, there's something off with this. It was just kind of an intuitive thing. And yeah, that's kind of how things started rolling. And I was posting things on my timeline just actually from January on, and I didn't really know why. I think I was just kind of gathering information and just putting it on my page and trying to wake people up and doing some research. And then I met you and started learning even more, and from there I just kind of started getting even more hardcore getting into this.
It's a lot. It's a lot of information, and you're one of the proactive people I've met. I think you talk about the fact that you just all of a sudden started posting and you didn't really know why. And it's a funny thing that I hear a lot from women. And I believe that that has a lot to do with our built-in instincts. We know when something's wrong. Mama Bear knows. and
Exactly.
and we're here to protect. I've met a lot of women that kind of feel like they've been called to action and don't really understand why, but they knew it, and then now they're learning more and more, and it's pretty disconcerting the more you learn and understand that our government's not being honest with us about all of this.
Absolutely.
Now
We're in
you've
the state
got
of
two
emergency for
kids.
24 deaths. Like,
Well, and now let's remember when we went into a state
yes,
of
I have two
emergency,
boys.
it was only 2 confirmed cases. And that for
Yes, that's
me,
true.
I was following it all. So I was going, okay, no, 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 this is a matter of course. It's not a matter of virus. This is, it's happening globally. And of course, I was watching it every day. So yeah, then I start meeting people like you and letting you know what I know. And yeah, we all get thinking, right? What
Right. More heads are better than one.
Well, here's the other thing, and I think this has been a big part of the journey, is the fact that you start to inform your friends about what you are learning, and you find out that that information isn't very well received.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. Very,
You've
very
lost some friends.
troubling because I mean, you got your both sides, right? So people are mostly concerned about the whole mask wearing and protecting others, and that seems to be the main concern of everyone. It's like, well, we've never done that for all of our lives. Like, it just didn't make sense to me, so I never bought into it.
Right. How do you think that they bought into it? The fear of God, really.
Who knows?
I think people are
Well, it
under a
was
lot of
interesting to
pressure.
have.
Go ahead, sorry.
And I think it's interesting that the whole media was trying to, it was the whole brainwashing. And I mean, right away I recognized it just driving around every day doing my thing and hearing it on the radio about how we're all in this together, and it was kind of a repetitive thing, and I started just changing the channel, like, oh, hey, like, stop.
You know, it's interesting.
It was so orchestrated. You know what I mean?
The marketing rollout was a little bit much, wasn't it? And it was, because I mean, I'm walking by my bank, and we're in it together, and all the signage, and during a pandemic, they managed to roll out all that marketing. Mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
But you know, you start to think for yourself. Now, of course, you've lost some friends through it.
Yes. Yeah. Family and friends of many years. Like, I'm talking friendships of 30 years or more. An aunt, a cousin, you know, best friends. And yeah, it's kind of crazy.
You know, most people kind of knew my position on things and that, but my mom's had the loss of friends and even family. And of course, those relationships go back like 80 years. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Of course, then, you know, sometimes I also think too that, well, I think the whole thing was a little easier for me, and maybe for you too, on the front that, well, you're single. So you're not having another person to push you into a way or train of thought. You're thinking for yourself.
True. Absolutely.
I meet a lot of women lately that they may think our way, but their husband is indoctrinated another, and it's these subjects that were never covered in their relationship before that all of a sudden are forefront in all of it. And that's what's causing a lot of strife. In fact, my real estate agent tells me that there's all sorts of houses going on the market because of all of this.
Isn't that something, hey?
It is. Well, you know, lockdowns change, you know, really demonstrated people's true authenticity, I think. You're in close quarters.
I know of a fellow. Yeah. And I mean, I got a wedding invite sometime, I think it was in February, and was asking the father of the groom, like, how's it going? And when are they going to be getting married after all? Because, you know, COVID struck, you know, and what are the plans? Are they still going to have this gathering, and are you going to have it out at the farm? Like, what's the plan? And he's like, well, no, they split up. And I didn't believe him, because I just couldn't believe it. I just got the invitation like 3 months ago, right? And he's like, yeah, they split up. They couldn't make it through it. They were in lockdown together, and she was upset that they couldn't get married. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Kind of seemed funny to me, but.
Well, for some people, it redefined priorities, and it seems to be the case with you. You've got 2 boys, both in school.
Yes. Yeah.
And
grade 8
I
and
remember
grade 9.
talking. Sorry, grade
8 and grade 9.
Grade 8 and grade 9. Okay, so 1
9.
year apart.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're in different schools. Yes. Correct. Okay. Now, I remember this summer we were talking, and you know, you were going, okay, that's it, I'm gonna homeschool. And of course, you decided that you were gonna tell us about how you handled this with your kids, and how come it's still in school.
Well, when the information started rolling out, it kind of sounded like things were going to be okay in the school setting. You know, no masks, and there's going to be, you know, lots of freedoms, right? They made it seem like it was just going to be in the hallways that there's going to be the mask wearing and things like that. So my kids were at their dad's actually for a couple weeks of holidays in Toronto, and all the information started coming out, and it was a lot of information, a lot of paperwork that I read through. So I let them know when they get back from Toronto, let's get together, we'll have a family meeting, we'll go through all the rules, and which included like the SHA rules, and that kind of plays into all of this, right?
Yeah.
So when they got home, we looked it all over, and they decided that, this wouldn't be such a bad idea to go back, because they had already been off of school now for 6 months. They had their 6-month summer holiday. They wanted to get back to their friends and get back to a normal kind of a life, right? And be able to get onto the basketball team and start soccer and, do all the normal things that they would be doing, and getting back to their friendships, because they've really missed that camaraderie and being able to hang out with their buddies, right? So that's
right.
what they decided to do, even though I told them that I would support them at home in the home setting and in homeschooling. They both decided to do the school route. And as we know, we go back to the school. There is no room or distancing available in any of the classes. And I actually didn't find out until parent night, where he took the supplies in.
Interesting.
We're having a delay
now,
here.
We are a bit. I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, so they went back to school, and then you thought it was all cool, the same way, the information,
Actually,
and then you found out it was actually different.
At the parent night, when I took supplies in, when I took the supplies into the class, I could see that there was no ability to distance within that class. There's tons of, it was like a normal classroom setting, at least 25 desks. And I said to the teacher, how are we going to be able to distance in this class? Because I was under the impression there wouldn't be any mask wearing in the classroom. It would just be in the halls. And he said, well, no, they will have to wear their masks. That's the day that I found out. So I went home that night and told the kids, like, you're going to have to be wearing them all day long. This is crazy. Like, again, should we stay home? And they still chose to go.
Okay. Well, and again, you're in a position that a lot of parents are in, and I'm hearing it all the time. I'm reading through those comments on No Mask SASK, and yours isn't. If you try to hold them back out of class and their friends are there, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yes.
Sure.
And they're at an age like 13 and 14, so I didn't want to be making the choice for them and having them resent me down the road. So I felt it was some sort of onus had to be on them to make a decision for themselves.
Well, we talk about thinking for yourself, and of course you're trying to instill this thinking in for themselves. Now, of course, everything and the school experience right now, though, isn't so much thinking for yourself as you're finding.
No. Yeah. Let's have the COVID video when you first day of school, and how you gotta protect others by wearing your mask, and we're all in this together crap, and yeah, more of the same, and it's quite frustrating.
It's frustrating that that's the focus, isn't it? That after the months and months away from school, and they come back right to that propaganda in order to keep instilling the fear, even though at the time, now when we went back into school, and even the end of August, I know that because we had no cases for weeks in this Regina area, and an hour around. There was no COVID to be found, but first week they were putting the fear of God into them right in school. Isn't that great?
Yeah, exactly.
It's mind-boggling. So, of course, then the realities, start to unfold as the kids are in there. So tell me about, sort of the first moments you've been having. And I guess you've had a couple of incidences where you've had a sniffly nose to deal with. So maybe let's just start with that.
Well, the first week, my youngest son was quite excited to be back. And, for 2 days, because they had the staggered start, he was excited. He was he had 2 days of school. The first week was great. The second week, he was, this is every day. I'm starting to not like this, wearing the whole mask thing, Mom. And he was actually thinking about doing homeschooling at that point, which he has since decided against. Got the ball rolling. And yeah, at the last minute, he's like, no, I want to join the basketball team, Mom. And I think it'd be a week ago, last Saturday, he ended up getting sick on, so he would have been asymptomatic at school, right? So he was sick on Saturday, and by Monday he was still feeling quite ill, and sniffly nose and sore throat and headachy. And I said, well, we better go to the doctor. Phone the school, and I told them, Nick, my son Nick is going to be out of school, and under no circumstances are we going to get tested for COVID. And went to the doctor. The doctor told my son to take the mask off. He was quite annoyed that he had appeared to his office in this mask, and checked him over and said, no, his throat's clear, ears clear, chest is clear. It's nothing serious, Mom. It's just a cold virus, and you don't have to worry about it. I thought I was going to have a fight on my hands with the doctor sending us for testing, but he was not into it at all, which I was happy about. And I'd asked the doctor,
can I get his name?
He's at the Northgate Mall Clinic, and I know his first name is Adadiji, but I don't know his last name. So, but yeah, he is wonderful.
What we're looking for, a reasonable, sensible doctor. Right. Okay, go on.
Somebody with a brain.
Exactly.
So I phoned the school and I told them that he'd be back on Wednesday, and so from Monday to Wednesday, he basically rested like you would with a cold, right? And by Wednesday he was back, had a snuffly nose, and I was really quite anxious because I thought, how is he going to wear his mask all day? He's going to have to be taking it off and blowing his nose, you know? And I thought for sure I was going to get a call and that he was going to be sent home, but they didn't, because they know better than to push me around, because I've been making my presence known since the middle of August that I'm not wearing a mask. I'm going to go and I'm going to hang out, breathing face, and you're going to have to deal with me. And at the time I told them in August as well that my kids wouldn't be wearing masks. But of course, my kids have been feeling the peer pressure to wear them because, you know, that's what they're banking on, right?
Well, now let's get to this whole topic, because this is about establishing the common good. And of course, you've seen this rolling out in the school with, now tell me about the classes and the pods and all of that dealio that everybody needs to understand about, you know, how they are interacting at school.
They're called cohorts, but I call them pods because I can never remember the cohort for some reason. So Nicholas's pod is his actual class, and they have staggered recesses. So they go out for, you know, his class will go out with 9 other classes for recess, and they have 10 sections in the actual school, the playground, I guess you'd call it. And so they're not allowed to interact with any other class that's out there. They have to stay in their section with their class. And then when they come in after their 15 minutes, then another 10 classes go out for their recess. Then during lunch, they are able to stay in the class, which has absolutely no room for social distancing, but they move the desks in order to create the illusion that they're doing something and creating this distance. And I've actually said to my kids, like, how could that possibly be? Like, why don't they just keep you distance like you do at lunchtime so that you can be able to breathe all day during class? But it just makes no sense to me. And
the nonsensical rules. And this is where, you know, it's not coming from here in Canada. And this is where, you know, I'm trying to educate moms about the fact that this is an international agreement called Agenda 2030. And all of this nonsensical nonsense is emanating from foreign territories and bringing us in the world all together on a new norm and a new normal around a virus. It's ridiculous. But what we do know is that they're deleting individuality more than anything, common good. So when I started, you know, talking about Agenda 2030 and you started telling me about this, I was thinking, okay, this is what we have now. These cohorts are now their family in school. and the people that
Right.
they are learning to be responsible to. It used to be you at home that their responsibilities lie. 100% was at home with the family. And now the state has interjected with public health and actually circumvented the parental role, as far as I'm concerned, or as what I see, and not so much circumventing the role quite yet, but that's the intention, because the new families at school and their peers and people that they're going to be responsible to, because they're convincing them if they don't wear the mask, they'll kill their friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and when Nicholas ended up sick, he was telling me, you know, all of his symptoms and stuff. And I said, well, how could this possibly be? You were wearing a mask. How did you get a cold? And he said, well, Mom, I wear it to protect others. And I said, but the other kids are wearing a mask as well. So how did you get the cold? I just want him to think critically, you know, but he got silent. He didn't say a word to me about, because I think at that point he had his light bulb moment, but didn't want to admit it because he, you know, he has this belief and he's been told, and he's a very good, you know, to a certain degree, a rule follower, I guess you'd call him, but indoctrinated in my opinion. But and he's a good kid, but he's very strong in his beliefs, and I admire that in him. So I don't want to squash him in any way. I want him to have his beliefs, but I do also want him to see the bigger picture. And he does get it. He just doesn't want to admit it.
Okay, well, let's talk about that, because it's kind of like your friend. Well, this is it, but it's also like your friends too. If they were to admit that you were making any sense, it would absolutely destroy and shatter every belief they had and affect every relationship they had too. Because even the friends and the family.
It kind of branches out to the other people that are feeling these beliefs, right? So if they believe in the one who's making sense, well, then that kind of dwindles their number down to just one. That's what it feels like some days.
It does. Well, I mean, we're already hearing word that here in Regina, they're, you know, in order to go to an event, you're going to have to, you know, wear a mask. When it comes up, it will be vaccination. I mean, these are the things that are coming down. And again, certain people are being forced out if you do not agree with it. Now, you're immunocompromised, and that's something that we kind of related on right away. And this is something that the mask lobby, or the Agenda 2030 lobby, is trying to normalize.
I don't need anybody looking after me. I haven't worn a mask since this all started. It's ridiculous.
I've never put one on either. I tried to pull some drywall. Well, this was about a couple of months ago, and I put one on for like every 10 minutes I took it off until I was done the job. It was gross. Absolutely gross.
Yeah, it's hot.
I'm asthmatic.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm asthmatic. So I've spent half of my, 47 years of my life having problems breathing and having to take an inhaler. So no, I'm not letting something inhibit my breathing. Exactly. That's ridiculous. My concern as well is with asthma or any of these lung conditions is the fact you're rebreathing that CO2. And no, we can't do that. But it seems that if you're going to want to fly in the future, like I can avoid it here in Regina. I have no problem. I don't want to be part of that society that makes people do that. I can't even look at them.
Yeah.
I can't look them in the eye.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
It hurts my soul. So I'm just not participating. But, you know, well, I'm not participating, but, you know, someone like you with kids, it's not so easy for you.
Well, especially when they're just wanting to take the path of least resistance and go with the flow. And, you know, it's not a big deal, Mom. Like, why are you, I'm embarrassing them by standing my ground. But at the same time, I do feel that I'm teaching them, because, and I'll just tell you a quick example. We went into Walmart together, and the three of us, and I said, when we walk in, he's probably going to tell us to put a mask on. And we're just going to say, no, thank you, and keep walking. And we got in. The guy was yelling at us like 3 times before we rounded the corner. Went in, looked for our stuff, and left. And you know, they were quite upset with me over that, but they followed me. They followed my lead, and mom won. Yay. And another day, I took them to the mall with their friends, and their friends actually took their masks with them and were wearing them in the mall, I believe. I'm not really even sure. But when I went to pick them up, my kids came out unmasked, and the other two had their masks on. So I thought, you know, I'm making small gains with them, and I'm teaching them how to stand up for themselves. So that made me feel good.
That's it. You know, I mean, this whole thing is about free will, and right now with these states of emergencies and all of this, we're being denied free will right now. And yeah, you walk a real fine line as a mom, don't you? I mean, you want to live by your convictions, but at the end of the day, your kids are going to be the ones that have to contend and tangle in this new society that they're forcing upon us. And they need to understand, you know, that these things are important to fight for. And without a mom like you, they would never learn that, would they? No.
No,
You talked to me. No. You talked to me before about, you know, the fact that all the things you've been trying to teach them their whole life are seemingly being tossed out the window by the school system.
Mm-hmm. It's
Canadian
interesting to have to be sent home for a sniffle, or, you know, my girlfriend, her son goes to the same elementary school as my son, and he actually said to his mom, I have a headache. So he went home and was told by the receptionist at the school that he can't come back until he tests negative for COVID. So she took him for testing, and I thought, holy crap, like when, I don't know, you go home, you have a little sleep, you go back the next day. I mean, it seems ridiculous to me that we're raising kids who feel that they need to be perfect before they can go to work or go to school.
And that's it. They're like, okay, but here's the thing. Now, you talk to us about your experience at the beginning of this interview, and with your son going in the sniffles and how it was handled, and your child went back to school. No test was required. They didn't even pass that by you, did they?
No.
Nope.
No, they didn't.
Wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare. But the other woman, who is a friend of yours, complied and listened to the receptionist, which I find very interesting. The receptionist is dictating to the mother that the kid must be tested. Doesn't that normally have to come from a health professional? You think?
You think so? I actually asked her straight out, like, was it the principal? Was it the nurse? Was it the teacher? Just to see, because it's not happening to me, because they know where I stand and they're not going to push me around. So she told me that it was the front office. So I'm assuming it's the receptionist. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, but again, it's the front office. It's not a nurse that's made that determination. And again, it's the sniffles. They're instilling the absolute fear of God into these kids to be seen sick. But the thing is, I can't understand how they intend to continue on with the lie when they're getting sick under the mask. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Now, okay,
like
so your
come
son,
home, they talk about how hot it is under the mask, how it's actually making them, giving them headaches and making them feel crappy. You know, it's not fun to wear one.
No, and you know, your doctor, when you took him to the doctor about the sniffles, he was upset that he was wearing the mask. Yeah.
Yes. Get that.
So the health professional. So the health professional is saying, no, you shouldn't be wearing a mask when you're sick, or even if you've got the sniffles. And God, that's common sense, because if you have the sniffles under here, you're just rebreathing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So now your son is in soccer. That is his thing, but not anymore. Tell us more.
They play competitive soccer through FCR, and I enrolled them because they both said yes, they want to play, and they've been playing for 4 years now. So it's just quite exciting because my oldest son was going to try out for Division 1. You can either be Division 1 or Division 2, and you can automatically like just opt to be into Division 2, but you got to try out for Division 1. So he's quite excited about trying out for that, and he is quite good. So we were all excited about this. Enroll them, and then all of a sudden all these rules start coming out with COVID. And one of the things that I read, and that was enough for me to go, this is complete and utter crap, but the parents are going to have to stand on the fields to ensure social distancing. And I thought, really? Told my kids about it, and they said, well, that totally takes away the competitive nature of the game, Mom. There's no way that we want to play. So I canceled. And it's not only that as a rule. There's other rules that I didn't even bother reading too much to because it was just ridiculous to me.
Okay, so, and we're going, why? You know, trying to figure out why would they be doing that? Because, again, the establishment of the common good, you know, there's no room for superstars. Superstars are
right.
Contrary to that. So to stand out, the idea is to make everybody all one, so that even the poor players or the people that would never have had a chance for the teams before will all get an opportunity.
And that's part of the thing I noticed even years ago when they were in football, like tag football. I thought it was interesting that everybody got a trophy. I thought, why? What does everybody need a trophy for? So that we don't hurt anybody's feelings? I thought it was strange. So you could even see it looking back, the start of it. You know what I mean? It makes sense to me now.
Yes. I remember hearing about that from moms quite a few years ago, and yeah, it's about everybody being a participant, and again, taking, well, for somebody who's a serious athlete and someone that has a dream, they want to be able to excel, and this is sort of, again, a way to stop that from happening, becoming the best at what you do. It's not about that anymore.
It's unfortunate. No, they're not getting a red cent for me. We're not going into it. We're not going to feed into that whole thing, because I ended up finding out actually from their coach that he coached my boys about 2 years ago. He was over here the other day and he said that he's actually started coaching again because he knows that he won't be able to go and watch his son play soccer because they're not allowing participants in the building either. So he said, I decided to coach because I want to be able to watch my kids play. And I guess I could become one of those parents on the field that's ensuring social distancing, but I couldn't do that to anybody. I'd be out there going, okay, get in there.
So no parent
I'd be like the
can
bad parent.
No parents can watch? They can't go to be a spectator? No more?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Now, I mean, I'm thinking right away, that's like due to those crazy parents that would be at those hockey games, like crawling over, you know, beating up the opposing team's parents. But that doesn't happen very often, or did it? I mean, was that a serious issue? Parental pushing of kids?
Oh, no. I never saw it in the soccer. No. So it's strange because like we're supposed to be wearing these masks in these places, but they're getting rid of the parents altogether as far as spectating goes. So took away the fun for me too.
Well, you're paying for this and you want to support your child, obviously, morally, and understand where they're at, and if they have a bad game, that you understand what went wrong, preempt it all, you know, that kind of thing. Being a parent.
Yeah. And even to talk about the certain plays, like the kids, oh, did you see that one, Mom? And I'm like, oh yeah, and we talk about it, and it's quite fun. I mean, even my parents would come and watch the games with us. So they're taking away everything as a family unit to be able to participate in something like that. It's joyous to us to go and watch my kids.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And, you know, I mean, I just remember I was a competitive, well, I was a baton twirler when I was young, and I went to all those competitions, and my mom came. If my mom couldn't come and dad did, they never just threw you out there to go do it. But this is about establishing the common good with the kids and making and kind of cutting out the parents. Again, if this is a blatant cutting out.
Absolutely.
I think it's ridiculous.
It is.
Now, you had a funny story. I want to talk about the, you know, I said, so are they allowed to bring the books back? Like, of course, I wanted to get into the lessons that are being taught, but they're not bringing home homework a lot. But your son brought home a book the other day. Tell me about that.
He brought his athletics book home, and he has to take it back, and it has to go into quarantine if it goes. So it's in quarantine for 72 hours before it goes to another class. And yeah, it's kind of silly. And I did ask him, like, well, where is the book? Like, where do you put it? And he said, it's actually in my desk right now, Mom. So the other classes must not need it at this point. I don't know.
Okay, but the library's closed. The library's closed.
Yes. The library's closed, and the librarian walks around the school. She's a hall monitor, and she makes sure that everybody's following the arrows on the ground and make sure that they're keeping their distancing. And then she's out there with her hand sanitizer, making sure everybody is cleaning their hands. And apparently the library is supposed to be opening soon.
So the librarian has been reduced to a hall monitor on the same salary, I imagine.
Yes. I imagine so.
I think librarians make more than hall monitors for sure. I'm thinking that's pretty funny. Gosh, poor thing. She must feel really degraded with that. But the other thing is I was thinking, you know, how in the world could this relate to Agenda 2030? And, you know, when we're starting to look back lately, well, in the last few years, as our history starts to be kind of cut away, and, you know, they're ripping down statues, and they're, of course, we see on the internet, they're pulling credible articles all the time, censoring. And it's like they're trying to make the kids hate those books and all the history as much as possible, because it's such a pain in the ass to I mean, every time you touch a book, you've got to piss around.
Yeah.
If it's electronic, no pissing around, right? You've got everything at your fingertips. Sorry?
The gym is locked up too, and yeah, only kindergarten to grade 4 is allowed to use the gym.
So, and here's the thing though, teenagers particularly, they need to get exercise. This is super important. So they're outside right now, but what's the plan for the winter?
I have no idea. I heard from, again, the kids' ex-soccer coach that basketball isn't going to be happening this year. So the thing that my son had wanted to go back to school for is to get on the basketball team, and they're not going to be having basketball this year because the schools won't allow it. They're not going to be opening up their gyms for that. So
it's like, why are all the gyms being shut? Okay, and then the cafeteria too, right? No cafeteria.
Yeah, that's at my son's school, at the high school. The cafeteria is locked up, and they are encouraged to sit on the floor and eat, I guess. I don't get it. So
or they leave at lunch, and they're allowed to do that if they want.
The kids are oh yeah, they do. And I've seen lots of kids congregating without their masks on. Some do, some don't. And I think it's wonderful to see that they're being there. They're breathing faces
actually some guy posted on No Masks last week. He was actually like a hidden reporter going, yeah, the kids aren't doing it. And he had a long shot of them all congregating and not one of them wearing a mask. And then, of course, I hear from moms on, you know, I get messages too from moms going, it's such bullshit, because what's happening is on the weekend, the kids are doing what they're doing, but as soon as the weekend hits, they're just heading out of town and they're getting together and they're doing what they always did. They're just hiding better.
Exactly. And they all hang out at the parking lot, at the Tim Hortons parking lot, and hang out together. And it's all such a hypocrisy, honestly. And I think
It is
the kids,
because
like, they don't have the backbone to say anything. They are just hoping that it's going to be over soon. That's one of my other girlfriend's sons said that. They just hope that it's going to be done and they don't have to do this anymore.
they don't realize this is here to stay, because a lot of their parents don't realize this is the new way of the new order. Yeah, they don't get it. I think that's the toughest part, right? And of course, then you got your sons who are exposed to you and the information you get, and then they got to go back, and they're kind of dealing with the same thing that you are with your friends. Let's just hope that their age is nicer about it all, because it's been pretty polarized with our age group, right?
Yes.
Like their friends don't seem to mind if one's wearing a mask or not. Do they care, or are they getting hassled by their own friend group?
As far as I've heard, that hasn't been happening with them.
Yeah.
So I think they're more of when they're in school, they'll do it, but after they're like, nah, we're good.
That's it. That's it, for sure. They might be trying to hammer it into their heads, but it doesn't mean that they're accepting it. And let's hope they don't. I mean, the thing is, if they're going to be in school, they do have to follow the rules. This is what's going on. And I'm getting a lot of moms coming my way wanting to, take it on. But at the end of the day, the schools have their mandates. This goes beyond the schools. It does.
Yeah.
It's going to be a hassle.
Absolutely. I mean, I've done my part trying to send letters and speaking till I'm blue in the face about it. I've sent all sorts of information. My first letter in August was a 23-page letter to the school about, you name it, it was in there. I had masks, like the links and how ineffective they are. A surgeon that was discussing mask mouth. I touched on, like, you as well, being just a walking female in the cathedral area, and men walking up and they're masked and they're kind of scary, and how many people are having this happen to them. I talked about the flu numbers. I included, like, the government links and how inflated they are in Ontario, like all this information that's online. I provided everything to them. I talked about the RPS, like the home invasions and the whole masking of everything that's going on with that. Talked about the teachers and how it's just kind of taken away their ability to teach properly. They're not able to console younger children. I enclosed the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. There's a section in there called treatment and punishment. And it actually, it's talking my language in the Charters of Rights and Freedoms, because it says everyone has the right not to be subjected to any cruel and unusual punishment. And I highlighted that because that really spoke to me, because all of this is very cruel and unusual punishment to all of us as humans. I thought it was very important to me to be able to say that in the letter. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, not only do we have all these other facts out there, I mean, the Ontario nurses one, was it in 2015? What happened to all that medical evidence for vaccinating and masking? Like, why are we here right now?
Everything that has ever been in the past now is being literally, and again, this is what the whole point of the state of emergency, right? Disrupt the democracy and all of a sudden interject all of this nonsense. And really, it's a socialist communist revolution is what it is, because everything in our world is being set up around a virus. Is that humanity? Is that the humanity we want to be known for? Sorry?
They're causing confusion too. Like, they're saying, well, do this, and no, do that. Like, they're just creating all this chaos because I don't think people know what to believe, and I think that's part of the plan. So
I think you're right, my friend. That is part of the plan for sure, because they said, and I've read stories about this in Nazi Germany, when fascism came in, as Hitler got more popular, all of a sudden the rules were shifting all the time. and I don't want to go to fascism on this because this is more of a communist revolution, but it's sort of again, it's coming from all ways. But these are, again, these societies that aren't Canadian and certainly not reflective of Canadian values at all. But this is a foreign interference as far as I can see, because nothing that's happening to your kids is anything like you were brought up or your parents were brought up before. I mean, how many generations Saskatchewan are you?
Oh, geez.
Like, are your parents
know.
born here? Are your parents born here?
Parents,
yeah.
And
their parents?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, you're like what then? 4th generation Saskatchewan, right? Never known anything like this before.
No. I'm living my life without a mask, damn it. I'm going to continue on that way too.
Well, I'd be laughing too, saying it's like we don't even change our time here. Like we don't do that stupid ritual that everybody else does. We don't buy ridiculousness. So why are we buying this? Yeah. Especially with 24 deaths that aren't even 24 deaths, and they're comorbidities. They're not even from CV. So why in the world would we be putting the people of Saskatchewan through this? It's crazy because we don't have the population of anywhere else. We're completely unique.
We've been socially distant many moons in the province of Saskatchewan.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about exactly, people don't get that Saskatchewan is like most single family dwellings. Like apartments are rare. Like not entirely rare, but they're certainly not commonplace for someone to live in an apartment. Correcto? Exactly. How many people do you know live in apartments? I don't know any people that live in apartments, honestly. I don't. Not in Regina. Couple, yeah. Not the norm, though, because it was always cheap to own a house here.
No.
Everybody was leaving.
Absolutely.
So
I think it's more common now with the housing market. But
Truly. I mean, you can still rent a house here, like a 3-bedroom for $1,200, $1,400. You can. Depending on the area and the condition and stuff, but it's not out of this world like other cities at all. Yeah. So what do your parents think of all this?
Well, let's just say they watch too much mainstream. I've tried to teach them a few things, but what do you do? They're more concerned about the kids, and when we first had to social distance from them initially, we weren't doing it because we are such a close family. We like to visit and have our time. And then my stepdad, he's got a couple of, health concerns, and he was becoming more vocal for quarantine. And so we did that for 3 weeks in the beginning. And after that, they were still encouraging us to quarantine from our families. And I just left it up to them. I said, well, we can quarantine. We've done our 3 weeks, so we can do our social distancing within the house and still be able to visit if that's what you guys would like to do. But I'll leave it up to you. And, come over for coffee. We'll hang out. And as soon as we walked in the door, they're hugging us. And I thought, well, good. At least, we got through on that front. So.
There's something that I keep thinking about, and I guess you and I are kind of in the same boat, but, it occurred to me this summer that, of course, to go on a date, like under this state of emergency and the public health orders, there's a definition of family, and they're the only people that are allowed not to be distant, right? So even your family that you visit, you're still family. But what if you go out on a date?
Yeah.
You can't, like according to these orders, you can't get together. There's no kiss. There's no hand holding. There's not even courting. What
kind of fun is that?
It's ridiculous, is what it is, because when you actually read the order, it's clear. So in fact, it's actually saying that we're not allowed to date and interact again with people always having to be distant. To me, it's offensive. How dare you?
Yeah, it's imposing on our lives, isn't it?
They absolutely imposing. And this is, again, since March 18th. So I'm following it. I haven't been near anybody because, well, they just love to bust my ass and I won't let them.
But we were in the car together. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
that was
yes,
a
I know,
sin,
but,
apparently.
it's so silly. But, the fact and the lack of enforcement, this is it. All of this is in. It's just not being enforced right now. So it's really a false sense of security. People aren't even understanding it's a state of emergency, even with an election coming up. I mean, not one politician has spoken one word about the state of emergency. It's unbelievable. Have you heard?
Exactly. No,
Not
haven't
one.
heard a thing.
If according to the media, like, they haven't covered it, no one's covered it. It's like they're covering it, burying it, so that we won't really realize that we're still in this state. Anyway, we're hoping that maybe our talks over this next few weeks start to shake it up as we come up to an election, and people understand that, yeah, we're still in a state of emergency, and oh, there's no emergency.
Let us be free.
Well, they should at least release us for the election. I mean, how can we vote when we are under orders? Again, how can they expect us to vote? I don't understand. I don't get that. I'm waiting to see at least one party that talks about any of the issues that we're discussing today. Unfortunately, I just see everybody just cowering away, trying to, not rock the boat or stir the pot. It's quite odd for an election. Everybody
Well, we
just
all know the people that believe in masks, how crazy they can get. I've had some pretty interesting, even just from perfect strangers in stores, confronting me about why I am not following the arrows or not wearing a mask. And it's like, who the hell are you? I don't know you, and you have absolutely no right to be talking to me like this, but whatever.
You know what? And
so,
that's the best thing you can do.
I wouldn't want to be a political person. Yeah. But to be in a political position, could you imagine?
Well, I can, but at the end of the day, somebody has to show some balls here, because none of them have. Zero. They have no conviction. Honestly, they're a bunch of robots just doing what they're told, and it's embarrassing, honestly. I don't even want to give them the time of day for the election to go in and do it, because it's a disrespect.
That's what I'm feeling too.
I know I must have heard that from a good 10 people the other day. I even had a meeting with a mom this morning, and she is being denied the ability to go into her son's in, I guess, pre-kindergarten and pre-K. To learn all this terminology. In any case, he doesn't have to wear a mask, but in order to drop him off at school, they're requiring her to. And she's like, no. So then they came back and they said, well, maybe your son isn't the right fit for our school. Crazy.
Quite honestly, I'm surprised I haven't gotten the boot me out of the school area, because I don't live in that area. So I'm surprised I haven't gotten the boot yet from my youngest son's school, because I'm getting that vibe, because I go there with no mask on and walk right in. I'm the only person.
But again, they're talking about this like it's normal. No, what we're doing, living life like we always did. I take care of myself and my health and my immunity, because I'm immunocompromised. You do as well. You've been working on that. Are you a person that gets sick a lot? Do you get sick?
I got my kids cold, but maybe once a year, if that. Even I don't even. Yeah, it's very rare. That, especially like a flu, that's very rare. My immune system's actually doing its job. It's crazy. Imagine that, eh?
It's it's so sad that the kids are being, you know, propagandized into the belief that they aren't responsible for their own body and that everybody else is. That's very scary because, as we know, overcoming issues and health issues, and we've talked about this, it's all about you taking care of you. I would have never overcome anything had I listened to doctors and just followed directions. No way. That's it.
I hear ya.
Well, we are being willed into a medical matrix, and as a mom, you're obviously dealing with it. You're off to a good start, though, and it's because you're resilient and you're strong and you're standing your ground. What advice do you have for other moms?
Oh my gosh, just have a backbone. Don't be afraid. Like, fight for what you believe in, and protect your kids because nobody else is going to.
They're not. Now, interestingly enough, you know, this whole Agenda 2030 plan by the UN is all about, or supposedly all about, the welfare of the kids, but they're psychologically devastating them, and it's blow by blow.
Oh, absolutely. I think they're doing it to everybody. I call it psychological warfare. I have been calling it that for quite a while.
It is.
Even just to go out to the store, I get panic attacks. Like, I'm just going to be honest about it because I don't know what I'm going to run into and who's going to say what to me, and am I going to be forced to do something that I don't want to do? Leave me alone. This is my body, all right? Like, come on.
Well, we never had the right to tell other people how to take care of themselves. And what I find interesting is if it's somebody who clearly doesn't take care of themselves telling me how to do it. It's like, no. I'm going to be kind. I'm not going to do the real deal, but like, stop it. You know what? I'm like you, though. People don't take me on. They don't take you on. They won't.
Well, I have had the odd person do it. Like I said, the perfect stranger. It was a young woman with a cart, and she was quite mortified that I'd walked down the wrong way in the aisle, and she waited until I walked by, though, to mutter something under her breath, which was, "Oh, I guess the directional arrows are not for you." And I said, "Well, I just yelled out in the aisle because she was practically running away after she said it. I don't support communism."
You know, here we are. We're talking about communists. I mean, honestly, did you ever think you'd be talking about communism in Canada in your entire life?
Oh,
not me.
No. Crazy.
It's contrary to everything we are, and completely contrary to Canadian values. And I know when I was talking to Mark Friesen the other night, and that was a point he made. It's, you know, a lot of times we're talking about conservative values, and in fact, no, these are Canadian values we're talking about, not conservative. Like 95% of Canadians live and think, or used to think and live like we do. It's all about choice, right?
And how easily they're letting it go. I don't get that. It's like, really? Like, you're okay with this? This is not okay with me. This isn't my new Canada.
Never our new normal. Never. We need to adamantly reject it.
No.
And well, you are. I am. And we're meeting more and more people that are saying, just forget it. No, not going to buy it. We need to get the silent majority out. And I think, you know what, it was hard as it went on and at the beginning, because people really did think that it was going away. But every week that goes by and it doesn't go away, and in fact entrenches itself even more, people will,
like the day
again,
that I
start
school. Oh, sorry. We're getting a lag here. When I showed up at the kids' school without my mask on and realized that the distancing wasn't able to happen, and asked the teacher, like, how long do you think this will be for? And he said, well, you know, about a month at least. So even he was hoping by now they wouldn't be wearing the masks, but there has been absolutely no word. nothing.
You know,
like they're
they had to brainwash those teachers too. Of course they did. You know, the teachers were honestly, to get them behind it like they have, in particular, their unions are the ones that have shoved them. I feel for the teachers, although we've been attacked, No Mask SASK and myself, by many a teacher in the recent past. But at the end of the day, I don't fault them for it. I think that they're trying to be responsible, and we're at the beginning of school because they were actually buying it all. But being in school and watching it every day, they've got to be going, what the heck is going on? It's not going away. Yeah. Well, that was a really good start. We've been at an hour, and I think, yeah, that's lots for today. But I want to do this again, Cari, because I think that, you know, all of each week that we dig into all of this, we're learning more, right? It didn't all expose itself right away.
Been a little much. Yeah, and every week I've been to the school, the Minister of Education, Scott Moe, you know, the mayor. I carbon copy everybody, the Catholic schools, the school boards, telling them my little weekly update. I didn't do it last week. I think I was just had about enough. And I got my generic responses back, one from the mayor and one from the Minister of Education, which basically the mayor passed the buck and the Minister of Education basically reiterated all the health rules, and I need to follow those guidelines and this and that, and didn't even address anything that I've ever said on a weekly basis. So,
well,
yeah,
you know,
Shabab, I've actually copied him on a couple.
Shabab, okay, so, but you know, you see, in the old days, what we used to call this is gaslighting. Like, you're clearly a woman who's going to a lot of effort writing those letters, and they know that it's not just to one. They know it's all to everybody. You think that they would actually come up with a response, but the fact is, no, they have no response because they have no opinion, because they are following a foreign policy as put out by the World Health Organization, and it has no reflection.
They may as well just have said, this is the way it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And
like,
you know what, I would love it if you could share some of those letters and responses with the group. I'd even put like a post together if you were into that. Some of them just to show the responses, and it's important for people to go, hey, this is what these people are getting when they're actually taking the time to put these letters out there. And here's the other thing, like, in the old days, that the solid letter was great, but a lot of people are sending emails and then, you know, little texts and stuff like that, and that's just going nowhere. You've got hard copies though, no, right?
I've been hand delivering all of my, yeah, I've got my hard copy letters. The first letter that I did, the 23-page letter, I don't have a copy of that, but I'll have to get a copy from somewhere. I've asked the school to give me a copy, and they're not responding to me, but it's actually saved on a drive that has since been deleted.
Oops. That's okay. That's all right. You've done it, and you did the work, and that's the important thing. A lot of moms are just wanting to do, they're sending the letters, and again, I on No Mask SASK every day I'm seeing conversations, you know, that includes some of this, and we're spinning our wheels. But right now, I think we're also still identifying what's going on. And again, each week it changes. So we have to just keep on top of it. We've got Halloween and holidays coming up, Thanksgiving. Let's hope it gets better.
The Thanksgiving where the Prime Minister is telling us not to gather with our families. How about this?
Isn't that? I know. It's ridiculous. And I mean, you can't even just take a short jaunt home. Like a friend of mine just got back in, well, you know her too. She was in Croatia, and she went over, and of course, no quarantine. Yeah, you go, no quarantine when you get there. Everything's just chill and absolutely fine. Nobody's really wearing a mask. And then she gets back here, and it is the fear of God put in her, public health on her ass. Quarantine now, indeed, day 6. With no symptoms and perfectly healthy.
A girlfriend of mine went out east actually to bury her boyfriend, take his ashes out there because that's where he's from originally. She had to quarantine for 14 days when she got there and 14 when she got back. So however
Where
long
was
she was
this?
there for, if it was 2 to 4 weeks. This is in Nova Scotia, I believe. She went out east.
She went to
So
Nova Scotia and
yeah,
they
and she
required
was
her
actually
within
she had to
Canada.
quarantine for 14 days. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. But that's within Canada. I didn't think that was allowed. I haven't heard. That is crazy. Well, hopefully, if anybody has any other intel on that, please message me and let me know, or Cari here. We want to know. Absolutely. That's the first that I've heard of that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I'm pretty
amazing.
sure she did quarantine when she got back too. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, for sure when she got to Nova Scotia, that's for sure the plan. And they actually had her contact information and she could get actually in huge trouble if she was not able to be contacted. Probably would have been fined. I don't know.
But that's within Canada, and that's not supposed to be happening. Again, you know what? The rules are just arbitrary, and they can seemingly do whatever they want. This is this is global governance. This is what's happening, and again, why nothing makes sense. Anyway, thanks, Cari. This has been a fantastic conversation, and I absolutely want to do it again. Let's get together and.
Thank you. Sounds good.
We have to start standing up, and we got to get together. And you know what? Let's take advantage of this election. And people, like, if you've got issues like what's going on, we need to hammer those politicians. Let's quit waiting for other people to represent our interests. We've got to do it ourselves. And social media is a great place to start. They'll pay attention. Just get in there and start expressing yourself. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.